a man was talking to us one day in his 60s. He had just lost everything. And he was worried, to say the least. Depressed is a better description. And finding a hard time imagining getting it back. Because in his description to us, he had spent his whole lifetime getting there. And now it didn't feel to him like he could just start over again. And we said to him, but you're not understanding what your true power is, what your true leverage is, or what your true assets are. You're not understanding that with everything that you lived and everything that you asked for, that you've got a vibrational currency going on. And that this big contrast where you've lost it all has caused a big bounce of desire that is active and vibrationally wanting to influence you back into its fold. It's not about starting over, because you're not starting over vibrationally. And since vibration is the name of this game always, and since the vibration now is bigger and more robust, and you've got more non-physical energy in on it than you ever have before, your probability of financial success is greater now than it has ever been. But you've got to stop looking at where you are, which brings us to the most important part of this conversation that we're having all day here today, that we haven't said yet that we really want to say, and that is, you know what messes up what you call your future manifestations and what we call your current vibration and readiness to perform for you? You're focusing upon what you think is. Your attention to what is, as it consumes you and influences your vibration to be about what is, prevents you from allowing what really is to come out of the vortex and into your bank. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
And it's because you're all mixed up on what's real. You think that reality is this furthest most manifestation, and we say, that's old news. That's like gum that the flavor's all been chewed out of. That's not where you want to put your attention. That just doesn't matter. What is doesn't matter. But what's bounced out of what is, now this matters. This is where it all is. This is where the energy that creates worlds is focused. This is where your inner being is focused. This is where all the cooperative components have already been gathered. You just have to figure out how to be one of those cooperative components, which means you got to figure out how to stop worrying, which means you've got to stop letting what you think really is be less important to you by putting your attention somewhere else. So when we say, not a good idea to think about that, you say, okay, I won't think about that thing that I'm thinking about. I'm not going to think about that thing that I'm thinking about anymore, because thinking about it isn't good, and I'm not going to think about it, but I'm thinking about it because you're thinking about that thing that you don't want to think about. So you got to think about something else. And often when you pick up the stick and you want to think about this end, you're thinking about that end, then you need to pick up a different stick, because that stick already has enough influence going on that it's more difficult for you to find your alignment. Now, when you hear this, it's going to make all the difference in the world for you, all of you. Any of you have anything that you want, just stay with us for a little bit, because this is how it is. You've put it all in your vortex through all of these step one moments that you've had. And Source has gathered it all up, and it's gestating, and it's ready in varying degrees to flow into your experience in ways that you can feel it, and ways that you can know it, and then ways that you can sniff it out, and then in ways that you can see it. These are thoughts turning to things, and they are in various stages of that becoming. So when you get it, that these things are becoming, that they are turning to things, and you choose a subject that you are not resistant about, then these steps that we've been talking about start making sense to you, because you did all these step ones, and so you've got all of this stuff brewing and ready for you. You don't have to focus on the precision or the specifics of these things in order to allow them to come about. You just can't focus in opposition. You could have 10 things that matter to you. 9 of them could be going terribly, and 1 of them could be going right. And if you would focus mostly upon that one that's going right, you would hold yourself in vibrational alignment with your vortex, and the other 9 would start performing well for you, because you've taken your attention away from the opposite end of the stick. Does that make sense to you? So that's where meditation really comes in, because you've already asked and it's already been given. And if you can quiet your mind, then your vibration rises, and then you receive the good ideas and off you go. So it's about not trying so hard. It's about not trying to make it happen. It's about accepting that it is happening, and you just have to allow yourself to allow yourself to allow yourself to allow yourself. You have to get ready to be ready to be ready to be ready to be ready. It doesn't all have to happen this red hot minute any more than the corn needs to become another stalk of corn and an ear of corn right now. It's a process, and it's becoming, and you understand it, and you're good with that. And meanwhile, you're keeping yourself happy by focusing upon anything and everything that makes you feel pretty good. And if you can't find anything that feels good, sleep a lot. If you can't find anything that feels good, then do anything you can that distracts you from it. We know there are things that feel better than others. Imagine the cork bobbing on the surface of the water. That's in the vortex. That's pure positive energy. Now, you can hold it under the water artificially, unnaturally. That's what negative emotion is. But when you let go, it's going to bob back up. And so when you said, how do you get it flipped the other way? It is flipping. It wants to flip. Your inner being is influencing it to flip. It's already flipped. It's already flipped. The energy's already flipped. It's already flipped. It's already performing for you. So we're going to speak this in negative terms, but sometimes it's easier to hear it. If you stop doing that thing you do that isn't letting it happen, it'll happen. And how do you know when you're doing that thing that doesn't let it happen? You're worried in your gizzard. Helpful?
Yes, definitely.
Something more?
I don't think so. But I want to say I knew that you would pick me. I know things in my life. I knew you would pick me, and I knew I would be here.
So this is a good thing to milk, to focus on. So you know how you knew that, and then it happened. There's a whole lot of abundance that we are knowing that is happening too. So this is what we meant earlier. When you notice the correlation between how something felt and what manifests, then you know that all things are that way. All things are that way. So how do you think you knew that? Esther didn't send you a note.
Somebody somewhere did.
You didn't get to pay extra. So how did you know?
Something told me.
We demand to know.
Something. The universe told me.
So you think that your vortex has knowledge about things that you have not yet seen. And you apparently have the ability to hear some of it. It's just a matter of more readiness to hear more of it. But on those subjects that you're stubborn, leave them alone. Don't try to hear on the subjects that you're stubborn on. Why? Because you'll convince yourself you're not good at hearing. And you are good at hearing. You're just better at some things than others because of the momentum that you've got going on. So listen for the things you can hear and revel in it every time. And acknowledge, oh, I see how that happened. Ah, that's information I needed, and there it was at the perfect time. There it was. It's happening all around you until you convince yourself that you can be or do or have anything, because you can.